right at home here. I guess there's a reason for that.
Yeah. Spend a lot of time right here.
You spend a lot of time right here, and you've been here a minute.
Yeah.
How long are your people? How long Jones has been farming in North Carolina?
Well, both grandfathers farmed, but they didn't grow sweet potatoes. I started the sweet potatoes in 1975.
Mm-hmm. What were they growing?
Tobacco.
Like
corn,
everybody else in North Carolina. What paid the bills?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So in '75, you said, let's throw some sweet potatoes in the ground. What made you think that?
Well,
sweet potatoes wasn't anything then, but just something that country folks ate.
Well, it's something my granddaddy on my daddy's side, Granddaddy Jones, he always grew a big garden, sold watermelons, cantaloupes, sweet corn, stuff like that in the spring and summer, and then he'd always do pumpkins and gourds and Indian corn and all that stuff in the fall. So we'd go to town and sit on the street corner and peddle it out.
Sure.
Well, I loved to hunt and fish and work with him, and he loved to hunt and fish. And I said, well, Granddaddy, what can I do to make me some money to buy bullets and fishing stuff and
all the things
all that stuff? And another gentleman that my daddy knew said he was growing a few sweet potatoes. He said, I'll give you some plants. He planted some of them and try them, see how you like it, you know. So that's what I did. I planted a half acre in the truck rows of my granddaddy's tobacco field, and that first year, and me and one of my buddies harvested them, and we went and sat on the street corner on Saturday evenings and sold them.
And made you pocket money.
Made some pocket money.
You know, it's amazing to me how many times I hear this same story, how many farmers I talk to. I'm like, how did you start out? Well, my granddaddy gave me a little piece. He let me put in an acre of watermelons. He let me put in a half acre of this. And there's something about that, I guess that's when you know for sure if it's in your blood or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to do it yourself all the way through.
My guess would be you probably never ever thought about doing anything else.
No, because it's just, I reckon it's in your blood. If it's in your blood, it's there. You adjust to
and sometimes
do
you
whatever
right?
needs doing, yeah.
Now, one direction that y'all saw fairly early on, you were very successful growing sweet potatoes, but you wanted to have a little more control of the process. So y'all got into the seed process, the propagation process, and now you're one of the biggest suppliers. A lot of other North Carolina sweet potatoes get their little shoots and seedlings that start their crop each year. They get them from your facilities and the work that y'all do. How did that come to be? I mean, you were good at growing them, you were good at selling them. Well, why did you decide let's start making them?
Well, extension agent, used to be Nash County extension agent. When we were bedding some potatoes, I had built some little small cold frame greenhouses to bed potatoes in to get them the plants ready earlier.
What kind of greenhouses?
Just a little hoop house type thing.
So just a little framework?
Yeah, I bent the conduit myself and put plastic on it off of the...
Just something to hold the heat in and keep a climate in there.
Right, and you could get your plants ready earlier because the temperature, you had some control on the temperature to keep them warmer. And this extension agent brought me some two grocery bags of seed that had been run through, well, I didn't know anything about it at that time, micropropagation.
Which, now I'm standing here scratching my head, Jim. You say you didn't know anything about it at the time. Micropropagation, what is that?
That's done at the university under lab and microscopes and all that, where they take the growing point, the meristem, out of the very new growth of a sweet potato plant.
So that's actually, if you were looking, like you bite an apple, you see the seeds. You eat a watermelon, you spit the seeds. This would be the seed origin point for that sweet potato.
Yeah, but it's in a growing point, not a seed shape.
Right,
you know.
so it's not, but what they're doing is looking for that little part of the potato and taking that out.
That's the cleanest part of the plant, the newest growth. So you were trying to eliminate viruses and diseases. So they would do that, and then I think in '98 they started the MPRU at NC State, to where they could do that. They had the facilities and greenhouses to do that, and then the certified seed growers, which we became one that year, could buy clean stock from them. We built our own greenhouses, we grew them out, and transplanted them into the field and just kept multiplying to what we call now the first generation.
And so that process that started in a laboratory at North Carolina State University brought you the little pieces that you turn into the seedlings and the saplings that then make the plants. And you've got, that's one really interesting thing about sweet potatoes. You've got fields that aren't doing anything but providing cuttings for all the actual sweet potato crop you're going to grow and sell.
Right.
It is middle of August, and it's still morning, but it's boiling out here.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's tater growing weather.
I would think all this heat would be good for sweet potatoes. This field behind us is not too far off from harvest. How close are you to harvest?
Probably a couple weeks.
And when did this crop go in the ground?
Around the 1st of June.
1st of June. So we've had June, July, August. It's a 3-month crop. They'll be ready sometime in early September.
Yeah, they should be. We'll probably dig these the last week of August.
Are they to a point now that if we dug down in this dirt, we'd see some sweet potatoes?
Oh yeah.
Can we do that?
Sure.
Let's do that.
All right. So when we planted these, then we came back and cut as the vines run, the runners run.
Yeah.
We come back and cut more runners like this.
So you're cutting
planted more fields off of this field.
So even the fields that are producing, you're pulling. Well, Mother Nature got this stuff figured out.
That's how you ramp up your numbers in bushels. You know, you get more acres by cutting these vines because they're still the same first generation.
Right.
Planting them in another field. And just
whereas if you waited and took them off a second generation, third generation, it's like making a copy of something.
Right.
The more copies you make generation-wise, the less good they are.
That's right.
All right, well, let's see what kind of magic you have produced here. Now these beds are all raised up.
Yeah, we want them raised up to make them easier to harvest, make them easier to flip over with our plow. Also to keep them from being so wet when we get a lot of rain. They're not.
Look at this.
Not drowned.
Oh, Jim, there's supper. Look at that, y'all. Wow.
That's pretty good.
And it's amazing to me how they all, I think you might think that if you pulled up one plant, one potato, but good for us, there's a lot of these on there.
Yeah, that's more what you want right there.
Now these range in size. There's a big one, here's a little one.
Well, you basically got 1, 2, 3, 4 number ones and 3 small ones. This would be what we would keep back to bed,
right,
to make second generation.
To go for the next generation of plants.
These would go to the fresh market for eating.
For me to eat with my steak on Friday night.
That's right.
There you go. You know, Jimmy, for people who are used to looking at fields and we show people all these pretty green things and things like this, and they're looking at what's behind us here, they might not think, well, that don't look like much of a farm. But without what your family does in these buildings right here, you and a whole lot of other North Carolina sweet potato growers couldn't be doing what you're doing in the field.
That's exactly right.
What are we looking at here?
These are greenhouses. A lot of people call them hot houses. This is where the process starts at. This is where the plants come in the beginning of the year that we get from North Carolina State University.
Now this is what they start in the laboratory, that micro propagation. They're cutting out that best part, the cleanest part of that sweet potato to start the next generation of plants. So that's the beginning of a new line of sweet potato.
Correct.
And y'all are gonna propagate those, make copy after copy after you have cuttings.
And as they get longer, you cut all along, replant, keep cutting. You can start out with 1,000 plants and end up with millions.
Millions. Just off of that.
Yep, just in a 3-month period.
Now, your dad is far too humble to take credit for things, but he's been incredibly innovative, almost like a mad scientist kind of out here digging around. He's developed new ways of growing these things, new ways of propagating these things, new, you look at something, maybe it's a piece of styrofoam with some holes poked in it and you don't even understand what that's for.
I had to drill all them holes.
You had to drill all them. Now
took a long time.
These are innovations that he has come up with himself to help speed up the process of growing the transplants and getting everything started, propagating the greenhouses. But some of these things that he's come up with just on the fly have been universally adopted by the whole sweet potato industry.
Absolutely. I've always said that my dad doesn't sleep at night I think he just lays awake and stares at the ceilings and plants taters in that tongue and groove ceiling.
Dreams up
And
something
just
new.
dreams up something new, a new way to do it. When, you know, because it's every day I come up here, I'm absolutely amazed at, well, I think we should try this. And I'm thinking, rolling around in my head, oh, well, that's going to work. But then after we go out there and do it, I'm like, well, that worked. So you win that one again.
It's hard to argue with success.
You win again, yeah.
So now you're coming along. Clearly, you made the decision long ago. I'm gonna follow in Dad's footsteps. I'm gonna come. This is my family.
I'll stop
farm
you right
too.
there and I'll back up. I didn't.
You didn't.
I left the farm.
You left the farm.
I did.
Where'd you go?
I went to California.
California. Here I come.
I went firefighting. Anything I could do to get away from this place.
What'd you go to California for?
Acting. I love to sing and dance and entertain people.
That's amazing. How the Hollywood didn't suit you apparently?
It did. It did. Just some things happened through the years, and everything has always brought me back.
Been
here.
drawing you back to the farm.
Everything's drawing me back.
It's amazing how your roots will reach out and grab you.
Yeah, everything. I've tried to run here and run there. I'm like the little teenage kid that runs away from home every weekend, you know.
Yeah.
And I have to come back home to get fed.
Now, all of that said, you have been able to follow that trail as well as this trail. You're now going to be the next generation of Jones Family Farms, but you've become something of a social media celebrity.
Well, social media has been very good to me. Being that I love to entertain people, I took the farm to the internet, and I've done my best to do that, as well as my other entertainment things that I love to do.
You were able to jump right on.
I can just tell you a story right here.
And you do that. You tell the family farm story. You tell the agriculture story, but you also tell the Jimmy Jones story.
I do. I have my own way of doing things, and I like to give it to you raw, give it to you real, no sugarcoat.
Tell people where they can find you on the internet.
So you can find me at Jimmy D Jones III on all social media platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
You know, it's kind of neat to see that. Obviously, like you say, you were a maverick. You were a little bit different. You know, you weren't just the farm boy from North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
He said, let's go to Hollywood. Let's see what's going on. I got stories to tell. I want to show. You've been able somehow to do both. What a beautiful serendipity.
It's
what a beautiful
been-
way to tie everything together.
It's been great, and I try not to pigeonhole myself into one avenue. Like I said, I like to be a realist. I like to give it to you real. They don't have the common knowledge of what we have, so I love to teach and explain to people, you know, the differences in white potatoes, sweet potatoes, and all the different things that come with farm work. And I'm not scared to show somebody a good day or a bad day.
You know what I love, one of my favorite things, is coming to the country and showing folks, country folks ain't dumb.
Oh no. No, we might talk a little bit slower.
Talk a
but
little slow, talk a little different,
yeah,
but
our common sense meter's tacking over
pretty
here.
high, right? Yeah, it's in the red to be sure. To be sure.
A lot of people are pushing more towards social media because of the opportunities that you have there to broadcast, whether you want to get more sales or just pass along information. So
now, in so doing, yeah, you're having fun, but you're preserving your heritage.
Correct.
You're preserving your culture. You're creating an archive that people will be able to look back on years from now.
A legacy.
Good morning, everybody. Boy, it's the first day of tater digging time. Woo! You may say to yourself, that don't look like taters. Yes, they're white. We make white sweet taters. Oh, man, they used to look like that, and now it looks like that. I don't know if y'all knew this or not, but sweet potatoes are a superfood.
You are Barbara Joe Jones. We are in the part of the world where it's very common for ladies to have two first names.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you weren't always Barbara Joe Jones.
You know, we met in crops and soils class over at Southern Senior High. Fell in love, got married, and that's all that mattered at the time. I mean, you know, you didn't.
It's just
I didn't.
that.
Yeah.
You're living on love.
That's it. That's
Living on
exactly
love.
what we were living
What did your
on.
family do?
Farmed.
So you were coming from a farming family.
Yeah, we had tobacco. So, and that's pretty much all we had.
And that, it literally takes every hand on a farm, and you don't ever turn around and there's not something that needs doing.
That's right.
And it might not be the most important thing that happens that day, but it's still got to get done.
That's exactly right.
You're that person.
I am, and I try to smile and you know, what do you need? So when he calls, you know, it's like, what do you need, Jim? Because he needs something. or Jeffrey the mechanic, what do you need? And I'm like, let me go do it.
There's always something happening.
It is.
So, I see people, especially after a hard farming life, they get to a certain age and people start telling them, y'all need to it's time for y'all to retire. It's time for y'all to step aside. I don't know very many retired farmers, Barbara.
I don't either. I don't either.
Y'all just don't give it up, do you?
And if I'm 80 and I can still run that forklift and I can unload a transfer truck or put it in the shed, I will.
I don't blame you a bit.
I will, because it's a good life. It really is a good life.
Just coming to your home and your farm and meeting your family and everybody, it seems, I just can't think of anything that would suit you better. And there's just such a sense of harmony and tranquility here. Y'all have got a pretty perfect life.
North Carolina sweet potatoes, best in the world, we say. North Carolina obviously is the home of the sweet potato production here. 60% of sweet potatoes grown in the United States come here from North Carolina, and a big concentration of those are grown from really where you're standing at in this 5-county area that surrounds us.
And a lot of them literally coming from your farms and fields.
We grow a few, yes sir. We
Get
grow
a
a few.
couple out the door. Now tell me about your family history. I think you're
We're sixth generation.
So you are the sixth generation of Scots. Everybody's always been farming.
As long as we've been here, Scots have been farmers.
Always sweet potatoes, or?
No, sir. We like most farms here in eastern North Carolina. We're started out as tobacco farms.
Okay.
Although it's still part of what we do. Sweet potatoes. We started growing sweet potatoes early 80s. Built our first packing house in 1985.
So you were kind of ahead of the curve, even before we heard all the good health news about sweet potatoes or anything. You didn't know they were good for you, you just knew they were good.
They were sweet potatoes before sweet potatoes were cool. Yes, that's exactly right. We've watched it become a rock star, really.
Right.
I mean, and to be honest, and
you were just you were already in that lane full speed.
Right place, right time. Very
Ride
fortunate.
the wave, man.
Exactly.
Ride the wave.
Exactly right.
Awesome.
So, we're excited. We're excited. We continue to be excited.
You've got a European office.
Yes, sir.
Where?
In just north of London, in Evesham. We've had an office there since 2006.
So you just pop across the pond to go to the London office?
Yeah, something like that. And so being able to spend time there to see that product, promoted, marketed over there. I mean, it's almost like watching a child grow from a baby to adulthood.
But we look at something like that. We're standing here, and if people looked outside this door and we'll show them, they'd go, well, they're in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
But
Exactly, and it's not that way. There's a lot that goes into producing a crop, especially with sweet potatoes, where such a small area grows the majority of the product to feed the country and a lot of the world. So, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure, and you deal with a lot of factors you can't control, such as weather and things. But North Carolina growers, sweet potatoes, are a very resilient group. We've been here for a long time. We continue to evolve, stay on the cutting edge, and as you see, that's what it takes. That's what it takes to move forward in this industry.
you know what? It's easy to stand here and see what y'all have done and realize you're looking at the American dream come true.
Yes, sir. Absolutely right.
In North Carolina, they call tobacco the golden leaf. Number one, it turns golden in color when it's ready. Number two, that's what provided the gold that paid for everything that built this state. Serendipity, I like to call it a happy coincidence. It's when something you're not expected happens to fill in a blank that you need really badly. That's the situation here. The golden leaf is going away. North Carolina has found out the real pot of gold is filled with sweet potatoes. They'll keep digging them out here where the food comes from.